What up, my people? Hello, welcome, bienvenidos. Another episode of Hoy en Día TV. I am your host, Yesy Rodriguez, on this lovely, beautiful, terrific Thursday, like I like to say, right? Terrific, lovely Thursday. I hope you all have had an amazing week. And yeah, so far I'm having a beautiful week. I'm actually at a different part of the country, so working remotely. So we're going to make this work, though. This is what we do, right? When we have a platform, we have to make it work, all shapes and forms. And so with that in mind, we have a amazing guest today, as per usual, because, I feel like all of our guests that we have are they're just great in their own unique way. They all have amazing perspectives, different things that they've dealt with or are dealing with that really helps them grow individually and grow as bigger and better people. And so we have another amazing guest today, Evy Soto. Before I bring her on, I just want to share just some background, because a lot of the topics that we're going to be talking about today, similar to last week, we're going to deal with diagnosis of autism, but we're also going to deal with parenting support and advocacy, as well as the concept of being a single parent. There's a good majority of people out here that deal with being a single parent. And so we're going to hear a different perspective and just kind of her point of view of how it is to deal with all these different layers. And especially I'm excited about the support group for parents, because that is very important. I know being a first-time mom, although I have an amazing support system at home, it gets tough, right? And so having a listening ear or someone to bounce ideas off of, a fellow mother or a fellow parent, etc., helps give you that reassurance, just to help you kind of put things into perspective. Like, am I doing the right thing, or what would you do? So definitely a good juicy conversation that we will be having. And so for those who are not aware, which I actually just found out, according to census.gov, there's apparently a holiday that I just found out about now called National Single Parent Day, it typically takes place on March 21st. So this one obviously passed, but it's really interesting because the National Single Parent Day is giving just props and kudos to parents that are doing it all for their child, right? And that they're doing their best to make sure that they have the best life possible. And so even looking at statistics, according to parentingmode.com, this is data at 24, mothers versus fathers. So 80% of all single parents in the US are actually considered single mothers. 52 in a single mother household in the US of A. And then from there, there's more data and stats that this website breaks down for us. But yeah, more information with regards to that, definitely search Google, because even with just having a double parent household, there's so many layers that is required to raise a strong child, an amazing child. And so with that in mind, you just keep pushing and do your best, and know that you're doing the best that you can, right? So, all right. And I'm going to pivot over. So bringing on our amazing guest today, I actually met her through her support group called Dear Brown Mom, co-founded. And she is a wonderful person, a great advocate. It's great because they're always, the group, they're taking turns to support gatherings for parents in general. This majority of them are definitely mothers, but overall it's a good way to fellowship, to come together, to talk about parenting as a whole, parenting in general, right? And with that in mind, I will say that I find it very refreshing to have that type of support system, to be able to have someone to lean on, to talk to from a fellow parent perspective. And so with Evy, many consider her a leader, advocate, and champion for community. In the corporate world, Evy is a seasoned human resources professional with over 15 years of experience, having contributed her expertise to esteemed institutions like Duke, and UNC hospitals. While she's built her career in HR, her true passion lies uplifting and empowering others, turning life's challenges into opportunities for growth and advocacy. And to truly understand Evie, one must really dive into her story that is really shaped around resilience and purpose. And with that in mind, in 2013, her world shifted immensely when her mother was diagnosed with a rare form of ovarian cancer. As her mother's primary caregiver, Evie navigated the complexities of healthcare system and experiences that those that really helped her out along the way. And then being a minority is another challenge that she faced even in the medical field. This realization resurfaced years later when she found herself fiercely advocating for her own son's medical needs and access to critical resources. Now, the sad part is the loss of her mother in 2014 was a profound test for her strengths, but it also ignited a deeper sense of purpose within Evie, right? And so motherhood further deepened her awareness of unique struggles faced by women of color, recognizing the need for a safe and supportive space for minority mothers. So she co-founded Dear Brown Mama, which is a thriving online community that has grown with over 700 members. And it simply began as a Facebook group and slowly has been moving, growing organically, and it offers resources, encouragement, and strong sense of belonging to mothers who often feel overlooked. So her vision is to expand this network, bridging connections between mothers, local businesses, and professional resources to create a lasting impact. Now, beyond her role as an HR professional, dedicated mother, and relentless advocate, Evie understands the importance of self-care, and she finds balance through fitness, running, and embracing joy in the little things. Whether it's hitting the pavement, unwinding by a pool, or discovering new wines, or just simply making lasting memories with her son. Her journey is definitely one of resilience, transformation, and unwavering commitment to her community and especially to her son. And so without further ado, we are going to invite on Miss Evy Soto. Welcome to Hoy en Día TV.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Can you hear me okay? Because I think there might be a lag with my connection on my end here, so I apologize for that in advance.
Yeah, right now it sounds good.
Beautiful. Well, you have a really impressive, amazing bio. I'm really excited to have you on because this topic affects, as I read earlier, 80% of the U.S. is single mothers, and that means that 15.6 million children live in a single mother household. So tell me first, before we go into that further, I read so many amazing things and just you as a person overall, but how would you simply describe yourself?
I feel like my middle name is resilience at this point. So I will say I have learned to embrace and accept that. At first, I didn't really like that attached to me as much, but it is powerful. It shows growth, it shows strength through life's obstacles and challenges. So I've just learned along the way to kind of, you know, get through the challenge, get to the next one, because I know I've learned and overcome from the previous ones. But outside of when life is throwing me curveballs, I just like to have fun. I love to laugh. I like to socialize. Like you read, try out new wines. Whatever's going to be a good time, I love it. I'm here for it. But I have always been pulled to community, and whether that's my fitness community, my community of friends, and now a mom community, it seems to always just pull at me. So I feel like it's something that I'm supposed to be doing.
That is beautiful. In your bio, there was information regarding you attending to your son's medical needs. And if you're comfortable, would you share more of how that looked and how the process of the diagnosis took place?
Yes, so I have to say I have a wonderful pediatrician. His name is Dr. Krishna Lurie through Duke System, and um, once we started going through some of his routine appointments early on at his first year into his second year, as parents, you'll know that there's certain milestones that they're wanting to see if your child is doing or not doing. As I kept going to some of these visits, there were some noticeably that we just weren't quite hitting. One was around language, the other one was around eating. And then as I was talking to the doctor, with him being expertise, he wanted to get him evaluated to see if some of the speech delay or some of the other things that were going on had anything to do with autism. I had no idea what it was at all. Just nothing that has been something my friends, family, anyone has dealt with. So I just was not informed or educated at all on it. Um, and so I will say he was very attentive, but going through that process of at least getting him to be tested was very, very extensive. There are super long wait list. Though the way I was able to kind of get ahead of that was to go through a Duke study. So they also have the ability to do the diagnosis. So because I was open to doing the Duke study, and I'm usually very careful of, as long as there's nothing being given new, like medicine, I don't do those. But this was literally just, we're going to evaluate you, ask you questions. So it's like, okay, I have nothing to lose, and this will get my child diagnosed sooner. So we went that route. We got the diagnosis in February of 2024. And they rate them on a level 1, 2, and 3, 3 being more severe. And he was diagnosed at a level 2. When I was first informed of that, I will say I didn't agree, and I still don't agree with the level 2. But, it is what it is. I was not aware that autism is something that's not curable. So that was kind of a little heartbreaking, to say the least. And even as I knew and started learning about it leading up to the diagnosis, like even just hearing the doctor speak to me and saying, he does have autism, it was just very heartbreaking at the moment. Even, accepting beforehand that it could be that. But through all of that, now being in this journey for a year, I've been able to kind of get over that hump of shock, surprise, nerves, why me, what's wrong, all of that, and just have been able to focus on being the advocate, getting all the care that I can for my child, early intervention. And I've seen strides and improvements with him. Everyone I've dealt with has been, very professional, very attentive to my son, and it just makes me happy. So
Yes, I can only imagine. And I do have some follow-up questions, but my co-host Cece did join, so I'm going to bring her on with us. Cece, welcome to the stage. We have our special guest, Evy Soto.
Hey, 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 ladies. So happy to be here. Welcome, welcome. So happy to see you. Woohoo.
So I'm going to give you a heads up. My internet might be a little laggy because I'm using my hotspot, because apparently the place where I'm sitting, where I'm at now in out of town, apparently their Wi-Fi is not the strongest. So just giving that disclaimer. You're probably going to see me kind of pause a little bit, but hopefully the audio can still go through with that. But welcome, to have you, and I appreciate it. So Miss Evie was just sharing with us. I read her bio, and she was sharing with us the diagnosis of her son being diagnosed with autism, and just some of the key factors that she found that the pediatrician was able to diagnose her son with. And even with my follow-up question is this, because observing and being around children a lot, like I have nieces and nephews and cousins and what have you, every child's developmental stage looks different, right? There's not like a cookie cutter type of developmental milestones. And so what really motivated you to take the extra step to say, hey, maybe my son needs some extra time, right?
mhm.
Versus taking him right away, and taking into consideration that every level develops at a different stage.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I thought about that at the beginning too. Um, I think part of it was after hearing that it may or may not be, the researcher in me wanting to just know, I started Googling. And so the more then I informed myself of what exactly is autism, what are some of the symptoms, then I started recognizing, oh, he does do that. Oh, and he does do that. But yeah, maybe other kids line up their toys too. sometimes he would put his remote, my remote controls next to each other neatly. But I thought, oh, he's doing what he sees. He sees me clean up and put things in order. He's just doing that. Wow. But as I read more into what autism is, I started recognizing those actions. And I am just the type of person that I'm very proactive and I take initiative. And although I always, wish for the best, I don't try to shove it under the rug as if, and I don't want to be naive or non accepting that it could be. Because then that's not fair to my son, that because I'm not able to be accepting, he's not going to get medical needs that he may need. And I'm the parent, so I have to be the one to provide that to him. So after doing that, I was like, okay, let's just see, because either he is or he isn't. And then there's a plan of action on how, to go about from here. And so that's really what pushed me, is just who I am as a person, to just let's get the answers and let's see what our next steps are going to be.
Yeah, great point. Cece, did you have any follow-up questions for Evie?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, was listening to your story. I was in the background and stuff. It's been a day. We press here on Oyendia TV. Make it happen. So you were saying that you're a researcher. You're out there. You're finding the information and things of that nature. Can you share with our audience, like maybe some of the literature, maybe books or authors that you found that had a better outlook, or just provided more information that you really needed to kind of help you understand, or even any websites, so that could also help them too in their their path, well, their path, right, with their children who
Yeah.
may have special needs as well. Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was mainly through the Autism Society. They have branches in different states. North Carolina has one as well. And then Autism Speaks, because I did want to be mindful, although I'm Googling, let me make sure they're credible sites. So a lot of the information I was going through there. And then something else that I tend to do to find community, I did it when my mom was going through her cancer journey, because again, that I had no one in my family that I knew of had it, and just a brand new experience. I joined different social media groups that relate to that topic. So I started joining different autism groups throughout Facebook, so I can get real people's reality of what they're doing, what's helping them, what's not helping, like tips. And it becomes kind of your community too, because there's some people, their kids might be 10 years old, 18 years old at this point. My son was 2 at the time he was diagnosed. So they've lived it, and they can, give tips too. So that's how I approached it. I didn't know anyone personally. I've now met some more people, but at that time, I didn't know anyone who also had a child with autism to kind of bounce off and see, what do we do?
Awesome. Let me ask you this too, because in your efforts of sustaining and getting real research and valuable resources and things of that nature, were there any groups out there that was putting out maybe say misinformation, things that you would recommend that people certain groups that people should stay away from? Because you also have you have both ends of the spectrum, right? So just having that a really solid resource, and then some groups and things to kind of just stay away from.
Mainly when you go into these social media groups, remember that everyone has opinions. So what they're sharing may not be factual, and every child is different. Autism or not, is every human being is different. So what they may be sharing that's happening with their child at a certain age or what have you may not be what you experience with your child. So it's shouldn't be a comparison type of thing. There are nuggets that you can, gain from others, but also I always tell everyone to keep in mind we're all different. Autism is no different in that aspect. Every child is unique in their development, where they strive, where they need extra support. So you kind of can't base it on anyone but your child. And I will say I'm very proud to I know my child like a book. So for other moms, if you can get out of the mindset of what you read, don't let that impact or affect what you think about your child, what you might do with your child. Always check with your doctor and whatever therapy team that they may have. But it's a gift and a curse, because yes, there could be things that are scary. I've seen moms in groups and they just can't take it anymore. And it breaks my heart because they'll put it on there. They'll say, I can't take it anymore. I I don't like my child. I can't handle this. I can't do that. And it's very heartbreaking. So everyone's experience, everyone's mental capacity, emotional capacity is so different.
Thank you for sharing that, Evie. So in your bio, you shared that you're a single mom.
Mhm.
And with having a child where you're not only a parent caregiver, but now because of diagnosis of autism, that's additional layers of caregiving that's required. How do you balance all that out, being a single mom, then putting two hats to be the parent slash caregiver because of this diagnosis? Or does it look pretty much all the same?
No, it's a lie. I think I wear like 10 hats some days. um, but you said the word balance. This year, the word for me to focus on is balance. I did not do a good job of balancing the first 3 years of my son's life. The first year, new mom. So, I'm just figuring that piece out. And at year two, end of the year one, I was going through separation, divorce, etc. And then we're approaching year two, and I found out about the diagnosis. So it was very emotionally and mentally draining, that first year, year and a half of my divorce separation process, because the autism diagnosis came along with it. And so here I am thinking, okay, I'm just going to figure this, navigate this out the best way I can. But then we throw in the single mom and the special needs care, which consists of many, many, many doctor's appointments. I work full time, so I have to balance work as well. Thankfully, I have a wonderful boss. I've always been very transparent and open. And so he understands some of the juggling that I need to do. And so there's therapy, speech therapy appointments, occupational therapy appointments, doctor follow-ups, any emergency things that happen with him, it's all on me. So that is why this year, 2025, is my year to balance, because, excuse my language, but I'm like, I've been momming like hell. I have been momming like crazy, but I've gotten to a place where things are ironed out. There's a little more structure, routine, which I thrive off. So now I'm like, okay, Evie, it's time for you. You've handled what you could handle, and now just pour into yourself, because I was getting drained. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot. And I really had to tap into what makes Evie happy, what makes Evie want to do the things that she used to love, and not just be a mom, because I felt like I was going down the hole of I'm just a mom. And I never wanted to just have that title. I love it, but I was Evie before I was a mom.
I am so glad you shared that, because I find that quite often a good majority of women and men alike, they tend to lose themselves or who they were before.
Yeah.
And now they become, like you just said, oh, I'm just a mom, or oh, I'm just a dad, or I'm just a parent.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate and respect that you brought that up, because I told myself that too after having my son. Like, this is me. I'm going to be me before, and I'm going to be me after my
Yeah.
son. So I really salute and respect you for that. That's amazing that you made sure that you were not going to lose yourself throughout this process. Because parenting is very tricky, very challenging. Whatever, in my experience, you're always like second guessing yourself, like, am I doing this right? What am I supposed to be doing? So it's tough. And you're right, it's really easy to go down that rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you find yourself at the end of an unknown tunnel, and you're like, well, how did I get here? um
Yeah, because
And
every
so,
single
mhm,
decision you make
mhm.
is around your child. You no longer have this freedom, like every decision. If you're a loving, caring parent, like everything, what time am I going to go to bed? What time can I eat? What time should I shower? Like even the bare necessities is based around your child. And I think as a single mom, I did have to let go of the fact of, although I wish I could have a partner to tag team so that I could eat in peace or, run to the store without having to put him in and out the car seat and all of this stuff. Um, I'm doing a really good job and I can see my son light up and how much fun we have together. So it's like a silver lining and a blessing in disguise because we're like this. And I remember me and my mom were like this too. And so it warms my heart that the way my son looks at me and smiles and we laugh and I'm his person, it is a blessing to kind of have that much love between one another.
I
That is
love that.
beautiful. Absolutely, that is beautiful. I love it. That's definitely important because in being especially a boy mom yourself, you're technically your son's first love, right? Like, hey, this is mommy,
Yeah.
mommy. So yeah, so that's beautiful that you have that amazing, amazing relationship. Cece, did you have
You
any questions for
Yeah,
Evie
she
before I?
said something. I like what she said. You like, I'm like, I'm momming. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. Like, get a shirt, a T-shirt, hashtag momming, right? Because it's so real. And I was literally just rushing, to get on the show here today. And my apologies to you all. I was a little bit late, but I was momming, y'all. And I was literally saying it. As I'm driving and racing down. I'm like, man. I was like, I don't know how single parents do it. And to hear that, you're a single mom, it's hard. Like my husband is gone for like 2 weeks. And I'm just like, my little guy, his schedule is just as busy as my schedule is. And I was just like, wow, you need like another person, right?
Yeah.
To help you sometimes to kind of finagle. I was like, we're gonna have to get you a nanny because you just need your own personal driver just to chauffeur you here, there, and everywhere. But it's a lot. So I love what you said about, that you're momming because that is so true for so many people. You're momming or you're dadding out there, right? And you're just trying to make life happen and make it, do what it needs to do. You mentioned something earlier and I had wrote down, you said in some of the groups, the parents or the mom or dad might put in there and just like, I'm done. Like I don't like my kid. I don't like my life and all of these things, right? When they're just like at their wits end, right? In those moments when you see those messages, right? How do you respond, right? What is the advice that you give to that mom, that dad who has just, they just had a really tough day, year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. What do you say to that person when they're trying to get back up, to do it again, to motivate, to inspire, to encourage? What do you do in those times for yourself? And then what do you also do to help others?
For myself, I do pray. I do have a relationship with God where I've seen what he's done for me in the past. And I just hold on to that when literally I looked at my bank account and I'm just like, are you serious? And then something happens and it's like, I didn't make it happen. I know who made it happen. So I kind of look back and rewind at those moments in my life where I am at the bottom and it just works out. And I know why it's working out because I had no part in that. And so I remind myself of those moments. I do allow myself to be emotional, to cry. I don't try to pent that up. Sometimes I can be too emotional, but it's just good to have a couple people that you do trust where you can do that with, because releasing that I've noticed is helpful and healthy too. So when I attempt to give advice to other people, I always think of how would this sound if someone was saying it to me. And I don't like when people sugarcoat stuff. I don't like the cliche, time will heal. It's going to be okay. Like, I don't want to hear that. I can read that wherever, like, I don't want to hear that. Don't tell me that. Understand what is frustrating me, what is hard for me right now, and then speak to that. So depending on what parents are saying is bothering them, I do give them the guidance of just think of ways that you can help yourself. And that will trigger them to think more about their selves, their needs, their wants, and maybe take away from everything they're possibly trying to do for someone else, and possibly not just their child. It could be their spouse, other people that they're having to take care of, work. It could be so many different things, but we forget about ourselves. And I think that's when we kind of just lose sight of hope, because we're like, I got to do all this stuff. It's impossible on one person. So for me, it's like, what works for you? And whatever works for you, do that, and kind of put everyone else's voices out of your head, because only you know what's going to work for you. And though that's what I tend to do, people. I'm not in their life. I'm not in their head. I'm not in their emotions. So I can't speak to certain things. So I'm very cautious of giving advice, and more so trying to redirect them into looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's great that you do that, because you're respecting their space. You are making sure that they feel heard and listened, and that's really that's a good skill to have. Not a lot of people have that. They're quick to tell you, oh well, you should do this, or you should do that, and it's like, well, it's all about wording. Also, it's like, I appreciate that you're saying what I should do, but the proper way to say is, have you considered doing this, versus you should, right? Have you considered is giving them the option to say, do I want to try it? That
Yeah.
sounds good. Maybe I should try it, right? And so I definitely encourage people out there, if you have that bad habit of telling people, you should do this or go do that, rephrase yourself. Have you considered doing this? Or have you thought about doing that? Or have you this or that? Putting the ball in their court, giving them that option. You're sharing your feedback in a positive way and allowing them to think, okay, maybe I do want to try this, or that sounds like something I want to do, etc. So yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the best thing for other people, or at least I'll speak to myself, is being heard. And if you don't allow the other person to be heard, it's like they just wasted their time and energy even being vulnerable to you. So it's at least acknowledging, let them, speak and say, and sometimes just listening helps. Like sometimes I don't need anyone else to say anything, because I don't think, some things can be fixed by someone else giving their opinion. But the fact that you spent the time and you were caring enough, that in itself speaks volumes sometimes too.
Is it you're very intuitive, and it seems like you're very self-aware of who you are as a person, and especially when it comes to like the communication piece that we're talking about. Yes, so you're right on about the language, right? Just changing some of the wording can change an entire situation. It can change the energy, right, of a situation, to where it might have come off really aggressive, kind of hostile and kind of rah, to where it really would have kind of just deadened it, to really allow the person to tune in, to be like, wow, you really care. You know what I'm saying? Like you're asking, you're rephrasing. It's not something that you're pointing a finger, but you're really trying to peel back the layers to really truly hear the person. In the Word of God, it says, have an ear. He who has an ear, let him hear, right? And you talk about the listening piece on there. What does that look like for you, Evy, like on a day-to-day with your child, right? When you are trying to figure out, like, what do you need? What is it? Whatever, or even like, I like what you said too about, other people having an opinion, but you not necessarily kind of like taking the advice of that person. That's why I said it was very good, because you're very intuitive to kind of know, like, hey, it's just, I don't really need the advice. I didn't ask for the opinion, didn't ask for the advice. And what I'm learning more in life about myself is that my opinion means absolutely zero. Nothing. It is fallible, right? Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's just bad advice, right? Sometimes. So always being able to seek and to hear the voice of the Most High, right? To be able to download and then speak to that person, because then, it's truth. It's not just my opinion, what I think about my finite, because I can't see the bigger picture sometimes, because a lot of times we have blind spots and things of that nature. So when you are communicating with your child and also with others and people trying to give you advice, what does that really kind of look like for you? And how do you communicate, different things like to your child? Say, like, for instance, example, if, you're at the playground with your kid, and your kid is maybe being bullied by some other kids, like, what's the conversation You know what I'm saying? How do you tune into that?
I don't think I even know who this Evy is anymore because I know the old me. And if I would have been a parent, yeah, the way that I thought I would respond is long gone. I will say though, I think him having autism has really shaped my communication and number one, my patience. It is a true test of patience. And once you can self-regulate, um, I noticed it helped my son. So I will say at the very, very beginning, when I had separated, it was tough. I tried to hide it as much as I could from my child, as far as like seeing mommy upset, mad, whatever the negative emotion was, because I didn't want him to have that and see that. But it was really difficult because it's just me. I didn't have anyone else where, you know, I can go to my room, have my moment, and get back to him. Um, Once I got past that, I realized the more calm I am, this whole gentle parenting thing that we laugh about, but it works wonders. The more calm you are in what they see, how they see you react, how they see you talk, it's like night and day. So sometimes with him having autism, he'll have meltdowns or just he gets really frustrated, and I have to talk to him like this. I say, Levion, what do you need? Can we use our words? And he still might be crying. And as bad as I want to be like, oh, come on, man. I'm just calm. And I'm asking him again. And like doing this over and over again, he'll like stop crying within seconds. And I'm like, it's okay to be upset. Language I never heard of growing up. It's like, go to your room when you're done crying, come back out. And I was like, I'm not doing that because I know how that shaped me as an adult and the cycles that I'm trying to break. So I'm like, I'm gonna let my son cry if he needs to, have his moment. He is 3 years old. Adults, we still have our moments and we're 30 plus years old. So I'm gonna let him cry. And when you're done, I'm gonna give you a hug. We can talk and then we can move on. But go ahead, you know, you're upset. This is your only way of showing that emotion right now. And as he gets older, I'll teach him other ways, of course. But, you know, you said about bullying, and he's only 3, but it's been twice that we were at a park. One time, I think these kids were like 6, 7 years old. And my son sometimes stems by making different noises, changing his voice. And so he was having fun. It was movie night at the park, and these older kids were looking at him because he was excited. And when he gets excited, he does a lot of stemming. And they were just looking at him like, "What are you doing?" Their parents weren't around. My face sometimes speaks for itself. So I just looked and I'm like, entertain my son again. And I'm like, that's not nice. That's what I told the kids. I just said, that's not nice. And they looked at me and I looked at them, and my son kept playing. But I'm not going to like blow up on a child or another parent. I don't want my son to see like that's how we deal with conflict or these situations. So I always keep in mind like my son's watching me. In another case, you know, kids are very unfiltered. My child's language is not fully developed yet. I, as his mom, can understand him, but other kids may not. So he was playing at the park again, and he was playing tag with another little kid, probably close to his age. And the little kid says, Mommy, I can't understand him. What is he doing? But I knew that was so innocent. And I've learned not to take things personal. I give a lot of grace. And I just kind of chuckled because kids are so unfiltered. Um, and if the opportunity had risen, I would have just, you know, explained, oh, he, you know, can't talk right now, but he's learning. And I think sometimes we educate our children when they see things like that, they'll start learning that it's not weird or it's not like, what's wrong with him? It's just like he needs more time to learn language. So I don't know that a lot of us, we're all human and parenting is hard. We don't parent the same. So I don't know, you know, the other parents would do that, but that would be my approach with communicating with my son on different topics.
I love that you do that, honestly. And I'm listening to you say 30 plus, right? Which is beautiful because it's similar to my situation. I waited to have my child. And I think that's the main difference that I'm correlating, because I've noticed that the younger a parent is, they're really, their minds is still in that certain immature stage, right? Where they're still growing, still developing. Like even in my 30s, I'm still growing and developing. I am considered an adult and I'm very mature, but I know there's always opportunity to learn and to grow. And so correlating it to an early younger parent in their late teens or early 20s, what have you, not everyone has that full capability to really think the way that you are showing your child now, or talking to others to say, hey, that's not nice. A younger person, I remember back in the day, somebody would be like, who do you think you're talking to? Why are you
Right.
talking to my child like that? So the
Yeah.
age and the age discrepancies that I've noticed, I tend to call it, like, my saying is called the hamster wheel effect. At what point do we break out of the hamster wheel to be different?
Yeah.
I chose to do that, and you chose to do that too, because I know myself being Latino, there's a correlation with like Latino women having children at a very early age. And I told myself I was not going to be part of that statistic. No disrespect to those women who do that. That's more power to you, and I salute you. But I know that when I'm 16, 17, 18, 19, I'm not mentally mature to have a child. I'm sorry. Like, I need to take care of myself first, right? And so I knew that going in and being a parent, I told myself at an early age, like, I need to get myself together before having a kid, because I saw the struggles and observing other parents around and what they've dealt with. And so it sounds like you had a very similar approach as well, even in the approach of you showing the language and the interaction with other people, etc. That's admirable. Very admirable.
Thank you.
Cece, did you have any questions?
Yeah, it really is. I'm glad you said what you said, because even in you, being in your younger year, right? As a teenager, to think like that, that's maturity within itself, and then to choose a different choice. And studies do show, women, when we have, children in our later age, I mean, at 35, in your 30s, they think of a geriatric. I'm like, well, how young is, like, the 30s are old now. Like, what's going on in the world? Okay. So, but yeah, you have a different mindset. And I believe that you need that with the maturity to help you. Not going to say that there's a lot of people out there plenty mature, right? Older in the number years, but they are not good parents, right? But when you live a little bit, you can parent a lot differently. And you're spot on, Evy, about, just having those opportunities to be able to explain to other people when they're kind of looking, and kids are innocent. They just tell you how it is. You just be like, whoa, they hurt my feelings. But having those teachable moments, you know what I'm saying? And we have children in our school on the spectrum. Some are really, kind of severe, some not as severe. And there's one little kid in the school. Everyone knows him. He's so sweet, so sweet. And he just like, hi to everyone, you see, but the kids love it and they're kind to him and they're nice because, we are teaching these children that everybody is different. Right? Not that it's good or bad or right or wrong. Everybody is different. And so you have to have that compassion. You have to always show the kindness, right? To whomever you meet, right? So to be nice. I know kids can be ruthless. So you're like, man, they hurt my feelings, And my child too, my eldest, he's on the spectrum. We were sharing this with another guest. And I was saying, if you always want to know the truth, ask my son, like unfiltered. He's going to tell you. Get ready for get your feelings together, okay? Because your feelings are probably going to get hurt, but he's going to tell you the truth. And you're right; it does help you kind of see life differently. It does help you to be able to communicate. It really does help you. It brings out the best in you. I believe that I've seen with children on the spectrum, any child with special needs. It really, if you want to grow as an adult, if you really want to have your resilience tested, patience tested, right? All of those things. Deal with the special needs child because they're going to really show you truly who you are at your core. And if you are willing and if you are open and ready to receive, right, it's going to turn you for the better, more than likely, hopefully, right? It's going to help you be kinder, gentler, more patient, right? More giving, right? Less selfishness, less self-centeredness, you know what I'm saying? And make it all about that person. So we salute you here. I'm also ex-military. And so we salute you for just being who you are, and for how you show up for your kids. You say he's your person, you're his person, and I love that. You know, you're momming, and I got to say that you're doing momming quite well, quite well.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. That was awesome.
It's always so great to hear that. That's like something else that words of affirmation speak to me. So it's always so great when anyone can say, "Oh, you're doing a good job," because it's like somehow they can sense, they can see that. My son can't tell me yet, but I can't wait for us to have those conversations. And kind of circling back to what you all were saying earlier about the maturity piece, I think about that sometimes too, and I think about myself, and sometimes I kind of take age out, and I think that some of our life experiences are what have matured us. And there's certain things that I've gone through life, and of course, the longer you live, the more experience you have. So, it makes sense with the age, but sometimes I just think about the experience that you've had mold and shape you to be who you are at this time. And had you not gone through some of those things, you might not even have the mental capacity to think of things from a different lens now. So I think that has definitely been one of the factors to kind of lead me to where I'm at too. It's just different challenges that some of us have that we've had to overcome. So I think the experiences play a big part in the maturity at times too.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense, and you make a valid point there for sure. Maturity, life experiences, definitely a direct correlation. Which, from a numerical standpoint, yeah, the younger you are, the you haven't had a lot of those life experiences, like
Right.
women in their late 30s or early to late 30s, 40s, 50s, etc. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Now let's pivot over to the Dear Brown Mama group. And so this support group, I'm a part of it, and it's amazing. There's so many strong, amazing women, and I know we have some fathers in there too that periodically engage. But I know the main focus was primarily or is aimed at motherhood. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Motherhood.
So explain more of the Dear Brown Mama group. I know you co-founded it, and it sounds like you have others that went in and said, "Hey, this was a great idea." Talk to us more about how that looked like.
Yeah. So initially at 35 years old, when I decided to have my child, I'm like, great. Who's going to be my friend? Who's going to play with my 1 or 2 year old because I waited? And so, my best friend, her child, 15 years old, like who's going to want to do the things that I want to do? So a lot of my friends had older kids. And I knew of an app called Peanut that's made for like people to get to know each other. It felt very like I'm dating for moms. So it was like very weird too. Because I have to get to know them. We're going to ask questions. How's your kid? Where do you live? What do you like to do? I'm just like, nah, this is not working. And so a friend of mine, her daughter is 3 months younger than my son. So at the time that we had our children, she was going to different meetups with another mom group. And what she noticed was it was not a lot of people that looked like us. She's African American, I'm Hispanic. And so it just wasn't a lot of people showing up like us to those events. And we both wanted community. We both wanted more, mom friends. So between me wanting to build a community of support in moms and her wanting to have more, space created for us by us, we kind of came up with the concept of let's grow this community and see where it goes. So what started as let's just meet up, have play dates, turned into what more can we do to impact the community, specifically minority women who are mothers. And so now, Dear Brown Mama, we're over almost at 800 members now through the Facebook community, which is really exciting. The feedback we get from the moms, so we'll do like play dates, mommy and me, we'll do family fun days, we'll do just moms night outs because we need those. And so we may go to a vineyard and have wine. We may go out to dinner together. Recently, we partnered with Goldfish Swim School in Cary. They allowed us to come have the pool for an hour and a half to ourselves, free of charge. So we're also trying to partner with different local businesses who can get behind our goals and initiatives. So Jasmine is the other co-founder, and she does an amazing job working with sponsorships, connecting with different businesses. And so together we've come to just try to push this vision of being a staple in the community, providing moms resources, whether that's us sharing information, because we know as moms we're super busy. So we want things handed to us. We don't want to spend time looking. And so we always share a lot of resources that we're finding throughout the community. And moms are bonding. So they're creating their own mom tribes out of this, big group. And
Oh,
a lot
is
of,
it my Wi-Fi or does she freeze?
oh,
Can you hear me okay?
yep.
No, she's good.
Oh, you there? Oh, there you are. Oh, that's my Wi-Fi. Oh, it was just frozen for a second. I was like, oh gosh, what just
No worries. So it's come a long way. We're very excited. We're hosting our first spring picnic event on April 12th. And so it's going to be picnic style. Families will come out with their lunch, snacks, goodies. And because it's Easter this month, we are providing Easter egg hunt. We'll have prizes for the kids. As of right now, we have like 35 kids registered. So we're really excited. And it's just about bonding, building community, being supportive. One of my visions is also at some point to be able to provide scholarships or grants to the moms or children, kind of pour back into the community in that way too. And so we're looking forward to where this leads us. And Jasmine is great. She handles a lot of our social media on Instagram. So if you're not following us, it's dear.brown.mama on Instagram. And then on Facebook is Dear Brown Mama. Only stipulations is you have to be a mom, so it is only for mothers. But we'd love to have you all join us and make the community what you want it to be. There's some people that do a lot of engagement. There's some that take the nuggets that they need and keep it moving, where we just want to have an impact on others to make mom's life a little easier in whatever way we can do that. So it's very excited.
Yes, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that background. It sounds exciting, and I've always enjoyed the gatherings and the get-togethers and just the information that you share on the group. Like, it's very helpful for sure. And so, like Evy said, if you're not following, if you're not already engaged, feel free, please. I encourage mothers, go ahead, Dear Brown Mama on Facebook. And Evy said on IG is dear.brown.mama.
Yep.
Very helpful. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we can say. Hopefully someone can think of like a father supporter, right? Because daddies need support too in the future.
That's
So
very
maybe this is a thought for the future.
That is very true. We don't want to leave them out for sure. Because yes, but I've built a lot of great friendships through that group. So and I see others create it too. And some moms are just thankful, like just to get out the house and come have lunch with other moms. Just to be in that space of, we get it, like let's joke, laugh, have a good time. This is our me time before we go back to our time. So it's great.
That is beautiful. All right. So before we pivot over into our last minute words segment, Cece, any other questions you want to ask Evy before we pivot over?
No, you have been just a breath of fresh air, loving your group. I'm going to check it out. I didn't know about it, so I'm definitely going to check it out because we need that. We need community. Whether you know it or not, people, we need community, okay? We were not created to be on an island all by ourselves. We need community. So I think it's great what your organization's doing, the events that you all are putting on, for the community and stuff like that, and for women to connect. We need a strong sisterhood, a strong, sister base, because There's just some things that you can only talk to another woman about. You know what I'm saying? Men sometimes just don't get it. They can't understand. And also vice versa. So if there's any dads out there listening, right? Or any single, whatever, right? Married, single, it doesn't matter. Men, you need the support as well. So
Right.
definitely get out there and do what, Dear Brown Mama's doing, right? They can give you some pointers, right? Help you get started. I'm pretty sure you guys would be happy to, come alongside and have
Yeah.
maybe like a little partnership, whatever collaboration, which would be really, really good. But no, you've been a breath of fresh air. Thank you for the information that you shared in the beginning, just knowing that there's different tiers and levels, of autism and just kids being on the spectrum, period. And then just how you handle, life, how you do life with your child, with others and things of that nature. So no, you've been amazing. Just a breath of fresh air. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank y'all for having me. It's been fun. I like to talk. So it's been fun.
Good, I'm so glad. And hey, this is not going to be the last time that we're going to have you on, Evie. So just a heads up. But I will say that I did think of a question as I'm listening
Okay.
to everything that you're sharing. You're always pouring into others, and even with Dear Brown Mama group, who pours into you? I know you say you pray, right? But what else do you do? Like what's the source that pours into you that you are then able to pour into others?
Yes. As odd as it's gonna sound, is sometimes just doing nothing, just lounging, listening to music. Because if I'm thinking of what is the next thing that I need to do, what does the next person need from me, like it throws me off. So as I'm learning, what I need is maybe it's just 30 minutes laying in my bed extra in the morning, and at least it kind of helps. So we always think of like it has to be other people speaking to us, or it has to be like pedicure, spa dates, all that is wonderful. It really, really is. I love my pedicures. But for me lately, it's been either taking a breath, and that's going to be laying on the couch or staying in my bed a little longer, as simple as that sounds. And then more lately, it's been going back to running and working out. Again, that's me time. Like I'm in control. I'm pushing and challenging myself. I like that reward of accomplishment. Like I check something off my list. I'm, meeting my needs. And so it just helps me like, okay, this is what I needed today. Let's get, the rest of the day going. And there's community in that too, as well. So I go to Tribal Fit in Durham, and it's a great community there. So I don't dread going, although Coach Jay is very hard. But I love it. And again, it's that community. I try to go work out by myself. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that I have found them, because now I'm like pouring back into what I love and what I enjoy. So that's been the pouring back that I've been doing what Evie likes. And, I always remember my mom on her last day, she kept telling me, be happy, do what makes you happy. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, why are you saying this? And I'll remind myself sometimes, it's like when I get so down or caught up in life, it's because I'm not doing what makes me happy. And so that's how I pour back into myself.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I agree with you, what you said earlier, the correlation of how people always assume that someone's speaking to you or you doing what you shared earlier, pedicures and spas and all that. There are other ways to pour. And yep, you're doing that. And I do that as well. Like for me, I like when I can playing video games.
Oh,
Like
nice.
to me, one time, being a gamer for a little bit, it's fun to me. So
Right. Yeah.
that's my way to support myself. Yeah. I know people are like, really? Yes, you play video games? I'm like, yes.
Well,
I
if you have Mario Kart, I will challenge you to Mario Kart.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I bought myself a Nintendo to be like, what else can I do that I used to love? So I have Mario Kart.
That would be so fun. We should so do that. Yes. Cece, do you like Mario Kart?
I do like Mario Kart. I like the games. I like all the games pretty much. I like the interactive ones. Like I'm old school, so I like like Pac-Man, like that whole little galaxy or whatever it's called. I don't know, you're like the spaceship, you're shooting all the things. So yeah, it's fun. Like my kids, they have all this stuff. I'm learning. Sometimes they're just like, no, mom, but like I'm good at like the Wii and all that kind of stuff. All of that. Yeah, Mario Kart, absolutely. We can get down with that.
All right, so y'all heard it here. We're gonna do a challenge in the future on Mario Kart. Yes, that'll be some fun entertainment. Let's see, maybe they can bet on one of us. What do you think is gonna win? Yes. But this has been another amazing, amazing show, and it is time to pivot over into our last minute words. Oh gosh, I know this is the sad part because when we have such juicy, interesting, deep, thought-provoking conversations, it's hard to let go. Trust me, that's what we're going to have her on for part 2 in the future. So, Evy, we're going to be inviting you back on soon. But we've learned so many amazing things just being able to breathe, right? Just inside, take that deep breath that you need just to kind of gather yourself, being mindful that your little one is looking at you, or even regardless of what age, 10, 11, 12, you're the mentor, you're who they look up to. Just be careful how you act, because that's going to be a representation of what you might be showing your little one. Right. And then if somebody else calls them out, they're going to be like, well, I saw mom and dad do it, so why can't I do it? You know how snarky some kids can get nowadays, right? So, and also just the importance of community and being able to fellowship, or even just the three of us, what we just did. We laughed, we giggled, Mario Kart, video games. I mean, come on. We're human. We were young at one point in our lives. I mean, I still feel like I'm 20. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, right. Yes. Feel like you're 20. Hey. Because it's all about mind over matter. Just because you're a certain age doesn't mean that you have to act like it or even look like it. I mean, in Spanish, it's like, para una vieja, so tiene que ser vieja. I don't want to be old. You got to look old, right? So it's all about how you feel. If you tell yourself you're 20, guess what? You're gonna feel 20. But you gotta do that workout though. Working out, either whether it be walking around the block, get yourself a treadmill, different things to make sure that you stay healthy, because internally you have to be healthy as well, so that your exterior can be just as healthy. So we learned so many amazing things. So with the last minute words, Evy, what we typically do is just share if you have a quote, or if you have just anything last minute that you want to share with the audience and listeners. Also, how they can find you on social media, if you want to remind them of how they can find your brown mama, pretty much anything that you can think of from a last minute words perspective. And then from there, we'll go to Cece, and then I'll close out. So whenever you're ready.
So on Facebook, it is Dear Brown Mama. And on Instagram is dear.brown.mama. That's MAMA. And if you want to follow me, I am playing around with sharing more of my journey. So my Instagram is at State of Beauty on Instagram. And, last words, I would say, as parents, specifically as women and as mothers, do trust your decision making and do what works best for you. Find ways to kind of silence the other voices as best as you can. And when you do that, what I've noticed is I'm more calm, I'm more at peace, I'm more relaxed. And it kind of also helps you slow down in a weird way, because you're doing the things that fulfill you, and it doesn't feel like a laundry list of must do's. And so I say that because when I've approached life like that, and this is a work in progress, but when I see that I'm doing those things, I'm less stressed, I'm less overwhelmed, I'm happier. And so I'm going to leave you all with the words that my mom was telling me, and just find what makes you happy and be happy. And I know life is going to throw its curveballs. There's always going to be challenges to overcome. But if you can kind of get back to what makes you happy and make sure you don't shy away from that, I think it will help you kind of get through these hurdles, because they're just that. They're hurdles. Get over it. You keep moving, you keep running like in track. You jump over the next one, you keep going until you get to the finish line. And so that's kind of how I've shifted my perspective, because life will give it to you, but there's so many good things to look at. And so we just got to shift our perspective and do what makes you happy. So yeah.
That's good. That's phenomenal. Well said. Well said. Fantastic. Well, you guys can get me at inspireforpurpose.com. I am Sandra, the actionist. And also, just the last words, um, Yessie, you said something earlier. You said, your kids, you're the mentor, right? And so those children are the protege. And so you all need to remember that. A lot of times we go out and we're looking for mentors and all these things. But the best gift, I think one of the best gifts a kid could say is like, who do you want to be like? And they say like my mom or my dad. It means that you've done something right. There's a lady named Amy McCready, and I like to give resources. And she is the author and founder of Positive Parenting. And it's really an amazing course. It's taught me some things because I had great parents. I have great parents. They're amazing, just angels sent from heaven. But I just wanted to be even better. And so the next generation, they'll continue, up and up and up to where we're just like, man, we got this down pat. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a book like this is how you parent. Okay. But it's really, really amazing. It's called Positive Parenting by Amy McCready. I'm so glad we had you on, Evy, to be able to share your story. But as I always like to say, above all things, keep God first, okay? And love and light and inspire for purpose.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I echo the words of these two amazing women here. Another amazing show, because this is what Oyandia is, right? Oyandia aims to motivate, inspire, enlighten, educate, and entertain you, the viewer and listener, with each and every episode. And I know we did that today. I mean, because this is what we do. Like the song, this is how we do it. Hey, hey, this is how we do it. Na, 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 na. Yeah, that's what Oyandia does. Hey. But, oh, I don't know if you heard that, but that was my baby. It's like, where's my lap? I'm coming. But yes, with that in mind, I want to give a special shout out to Evy. Thank you again for being on. CC, always being an amazing co-host. Nadine, we still have you. We miss you. We're going to be on soon. Our other co-host, she had to be on location doing a different project, but hey, we hold it down here. That's what Family at Oyandia does. And shout out to our sponsors. We have Collective Wear. We have Divine Beauty and Accessories. We have Nadine Travel Oasis. We're going to hear from them. And also, we have Miss Cece, the Actionist, as the sponsor. So we'll be right back.
Sponsored by Collective Wear. Sponsored by Divine Beauty and Accessories. Watch Oyandia TV Thursdays 7:30 p.m. Dream, explore, discover with Nadine's Travel Oasis. Your next adventure is just a booking away. From breathtaking beaches to vibrant cityscapes, we handle the details so you can make the memories. Luxury, leisure, or last-minute getaways, we've got you covered. Book today and let Nadine's Travel Oasis take you places.
All right. And for those who want to be sponsors at Oyandia TV, we have sponsor packages available. So you can definitely, we announce you, create commercials as we saw, etc. The whole shebang. We do it all here. So simply email oyandiatv@gmail.com. It is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Subject line, put sponsor, and then what we'll do is send you the different sponsor packages, and you just let us know which one you want. So easy breezy, 1, 2, 3, right? And also, for those who want to find me more about who Yessie Rodriguez is, just simply go to Google or Safari or Internet Explorer and just type in my name, Yessie Rodriguez. It'll pull me up in all my social media handles and my website, so you can find me there. And yeah, another easy breezy, 1, 2, 3, right? Hey, okay. Last minute words, quote of the day that I always say. So this is, and I'm going to keep saying this till the end because this is how passionate I am about this. The whole Biggie Smalls with 112 back in the day song where you're like, sky's the limit, And then one day I was thinking, I was like, sky, I don't know about that. So my gut feeling was right because I found that there's a Kármán line, which is a boundary separating Earth's atmosphere and outer space. So from a technical standpoint, because I'm a technical person, when you tell yourself the sky's the limit, you're technically, quote unquote, setting yourself a boundary. Because for those who didn't know, that boundary is 62 miles above the sea level. So please stop from saying sky's the limit, but say this instead. This is a quote that I created. The sky is never the limit because the galaxies are endless. Thank you all for tuning to OAND TV. This is the end of the show. We'll see you next week.